Good day to Doctor and everyone. We are from Group 4 and our topic for international business assignment is Malaysia's supply chain operation during pandemic COVID-19. And our teammate is totally 8 members. Let's begin our presentations with introduction part.
Hi everyone, I'm Pavitran Draman going to introduce about our topic. The COVID-19 pandemic and its global impact sent shock waves throughout the supply chain of most companies around the world. As we all know, executives know they cannot sit on sideline for long. They need to rethink and transform their supply chain and business model. Careful planning with all key stakeholders in a collaborative process will help business to evolve into more resilient and agile organization. Same as for Malaysia, we also affected with the COVID-19 pandemic and our supply chain also affected with the pandemic as well. In today's research, we are going to explain more on how does the COVID-19 pandemic affect the supply chain of Malaysia. Thank you.
And I will continue the background of the topic. For the first thing, many companies had to temporarily close and shut down their facilities and half operation in order to comply with the Malaysian government movement control order. And then, during the pandemic, companies invest in technology assisting business in responding more quickly to fluctuating supply and demand. Moreover, some bioscience and companies had to ramp up their effort to develop critical new goods such as COVID-19 testing and vaccine. And lastly, in more labor-intensive industry, industrial product and high-tech manufacturer, corporations are putting a lot of money into technologies to limit COVID-19 exposure. Okay, that's all from me.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Muhammad Alzani Muhammad Jaini. My meeting number is 278558. Now I will present about literature review. The first literature review that I will present is Defining Supply Chain Management by John T. Menzer, William DeWitt, James S. Kavler, Sun Hong Min, Nancy W. Nix, Carlo D. Smith, and Zach G. Zakaria. This research is done in 2011. This research purpose is to review existing studies in order to better comprehend the notions of supply chain management and supply chain definitions are examined, categorized, and synthesis. The next literature review is Issues in Supply Chain Management by Douglas M. Lambert and Martha C. Cooper. The research is done in 2000. In this research, the issue that arises in supply chain management is cross-functional integration is required for successful supply chain management. Marketing must play a key role. The task and the task at that is to figure out how to make this integration work. The next literature review is Supply Chain Sustainability: Learning from the COVID-19 Pandemic. This research is done by Sakis J. in 2021. During this crisis, organizations have been hit hard. Environmental sustainability measures can assist businesses in managing in both current and future competitive environments. The consequences from broad economic, operational, social, and ecological environmental sustainability are included. And the last literature review is Key Supply Chain Strategies for the Post-COVID-19 Era. This research is done by Paul S. K., Moktaber M.A., and Ahsan K., and this research is done in 2021. The goal of this study is to explore and analyze critical supply chain solutions to ensure robustness and resilience in the post-COVID-19 age. Decision makers should investigate critical supply chains methods to move forward and prepare their policies to be adopted. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ahmad Shafarhan bin Ahmad Kamil, metric number 27818. Today I'll be presenting on literature review on how supply chain operation function as a unit to help businesses. Supply chain management is the design, planning, implementation, management, and track supply chain activities with the purpose of producing net value, developing strategic foundation, devising global logistics, coordinating distribution network demand, and assessing worldwide load success. It is also the process of moving commodity from source material to client. There are four major parts in supply chain management, which is procurement, which is the act of acquiring the commodities and resources that your firm need. Second is operation, which is relate to the systems, organizations, and processes used to coordinate, secure the transfer of consumer items from the supplier to the client. Next is distribution. This technique where we use to deliver item from to a customer is referred as a supply chain distribution. For example, we use a company named Zenit, which is a logistic company to help transfer our item to to our customer. Last is integration, which is uh, management that implies that all partners' data and knowledge systems may seamlessly share information during the organizing, implementation, and completion of logistical activities throughout a cycle of the products. Second is the research and impact of coronavirus to Malaysian supply chain operations during the pandemic of COVID-19. The pandemic disrupted supply chain operations worldwide, and also Malaysia was not spared. Many firms were unable to function during the MCO, which was applied by the Malaysian government. Necessary services such as food-based and logistic restricted to the supply of essential service were granted certain leeway, such as, for example, we gave Gardenia. Gardenia, they were given the exception to operate during the MCO, but they faced supply chain interruptions such as raw material shortages and order delay and cancellation and distribution and transportation difficulties. This is due to a research in 2020 where SME Corp does was 1,151,339 SMEs were accounted for 97.2% of total business establishments in Malaysia, if which is it accounts almost for all businesses in Malaysia.
Good afternoon to Honorable Sir and my fellow classmates. I'm Kadris Ganesan 279525 would like to continue our group presentation to research method and methodology. There has been a plethora of ways used during the expansion of this research method design. By using a variability of research method, the objective of this chapter is to progress the strategy for the research methodology. Research methodology additionally contributes the researchers in determining how to come throughout the research findings. The pathway that researchers must take in order to perform the studies is referred to as a research methodology. It demonstrates the process throughout such researchers establish their problem and aim, as well as how they convey their findings based on the data gathered during the course of the research. Meanwhile, the instruments used to conduct researches are referred to research methods. At the same time, the term research methods refers to all of the approaches used by researchers to do the study in order to address a specific problem. The overall design of the study as well as the data gathering methods employed are thoroughly detailed in this section. It's divided into three major sections. The first section provides a high-level overview of discussion layout. The second portion examines the data gathering methods, both qualitative and quantitative in nature. The last section provides an overview of the overall study framework of this research. The intent of this part is to provide an overview of how the research was carried out during the study periods. Now we are going to see the three major steps that implement during the research. Firstly, the sources of data. Throughout of the course of investigation, we rely heavily on secondary sources to gather information regarding our group study. A literature review has been carried out in order to gather information from diverse secondary sources. Among these are reports and project documents from each of the industrial industries was used. In addition to secondary data collection gleaned from literature review, the remaining information was gleaned from the country development report and a few management papers that were included in the literature review. When it comes to manufacturing industrial sector, credible articles and publications were evaluated as well as various pieces of particulars or conferences as well as magazines, bulletins, newspaper, sites and other sources of information. The evaluation also incorporated data from current supporting documents, guidelines, operation report, statistical data, rules, laws, protocols and standards that were directly related to the nation's development program in supply chain of management. Secondly, we were moving to second step, which is data collection method after determines the data sources. To put it another way, secondary data refers to information that was not obtained by the direct user. These data sources provide insights into the study field of the current state of the art approaches using the most up-to-date technology. It also creates a form of research gaps that must be addressed by the researchers themselves in the future. Secondary data sources may also include both internal and external data information sources, and they could span a broad variety of subjects, areas, and functions. As a result, the literature review serves as the primary sources of conducting a direct and consistent analysis of this research. Extensive documentation, study, and report in both online and offline formats have been undertaken in order to meet the dissertation's goal, including a literature review and statement of national development regarding the supply chain management of Malaysia. When looked at with a form of methodological perspective, literature review may be thought as a research method in which quantitative and qualitative features are combined to analyze structural criteria as well as substantive criteria are also assessed. The last step is data analysis method. It is the process of removing imperatives from modifying and processing raw data in order to extract actionable and appropriate data that can be used to help make knowledgeable decisions. The technique contributes to the reduction of the risk associated with the decision making by offering important insights of data which are often displayed in the form of diagrams, pictures, tables, and also infographic. The data analysis section provided answer to the fundamental issues posted in the study aim. The in-depth investigation of the Malaysian supply chain operation during the pandemic COVID-19 was evaluated, debated, contrasted, and also compared in this report. The qualitative data analysis approach was employed in the study with the goal of increasing the trustworthiness and validity of the research results. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Syahra binti Acharini and my matric number is 280238. Next is the analysis and discussion. The pandemic of COVID-19 has posed significant challenge for supply chains operations, especially in Malaysia. The pandemic has caused various changes around the world, and the countries and government have implemented lockdown and restriction to help curb the cases due to COVID-19. Restriction issued by the government had impacted a huge aspect of the economic sector. It continued to slow and temporarily halt the flow of the raw materials and finished goods, causing manufacturing to be disrupted. This outbreak not only created any new challenges for the supply chain's operation, but also revealed previously unseen vulnerabilities. And of course, many organizations suffered staff shortage and losses as a result of COVID-19. But overall, it has accelerated and magnified problems that have existed in the supply chain. Lots of the operation has affected by this pandemic include production, manufacturing, packaging, designing, and tourism. This pandemic of COVID-19 mostly affect the economic sectors. Lots of the factories need to shut down and just a few of them still working. Due to this restriction, most companies had to lay off some workers to cover monthly expenses of the factories. It leads to minimizing and cutting down on the production and manufacturing of their product, which has caused shortages and delay of the particular product, which the lack of manufacturing of essential products such as food. It has limited purchase. It has limited purchase and soon has made the economic sector gradually collapse. In the early phase, these enforcers also restricted individuals from entering stores as well as supermarkets. Only the head of the family is allowed to go and buy goods. Many people are unable to buy necessities in sufficient quantity because every supermarket has limited the intake of goods. For example, cooking oil can only be bought in 2 packets for the house. This causes the need to go and buy it regularly as it is a daily necessity for cooking. With the economic downturn, the government began to restore order by raising some prices of goods to restabilize the country's economic status. However, many feel burdened as many Malaysians are forced to become unemployed after being laid off from various sectors, including the manufacturing and aviation sectors. Those who are laid off have no place to depend on to support their families. They had to find other methods to make a living due to job requirement restrictions, and many sectors need to shut down so that this pandemic does not spread. Not only that, but this pandemic also affect the poultry sector. Although report says that these farm animals are not affected by the epidemic and can be eaten without worry about the spread of the epidemic from the animals and the food eaten, however, demand began to decline as many sectors such as restaurants, hotels, and catering closed. When these sectors are shut down, it has affected the farming sectors. The closure of the sector has inflicted huge loss on the livestock sector. Many dumping of animals that have been slaughtered to sell, so these farmers are forced to sell at a cheap price so that meat is not spoiled. It has made budget profits and break-even severely affected. Next, the travel and tourism agency needs to shut down, and all the people need to stay at home. Those who violate this rule will be subject to legal action by paying a specific fine. Because of the tourism sector has closed, it is one of the sectors that have a huge impact on the economy. Not only that, those who work in the sector had to quit their jobs. Statistics says that women are particularly affected as many women venture into this field. However, various ways and conclusions are made by the government so that these disrupted people can live a life of good necessities. There are some statistics shown by Tourism Malaysia with the cooperation of the Immigration Department about the decrease of the tourism from 2007 until 2011. It shows that there are sharp decline in the tourism sector from 2019 until 2021. It shows that this pandemic brings a lot of difficulties in the tourism sectors.
Hello everyone, my name is Xiang Yu. My major number is 26538. My party is analysis and discuss why the supply chain operation is most important in Malaysia. It's because the supply chain can improve the cash flow in the market. This will allow business to make smart decisions to respond to the demand change during MCO prevailed to avoid the disruption happen. Hand-to-hand working will increase the efficiency rate to implement the successful recovery strategies of business to boost the productivity, so the inflation will decrease. Therefore, we have a smooth working store network where clients are fulfilled and invoicing cycle can be smoothed out. This doesn't supply decrease overhead expenses. In addition, guarantees further developed improve for organization to lead everyday activities. About the impact of supply chain strategy. The shortage of supply chain can influence those products will more
expenses until the people are not suitable to cover them. Disruption in supply chain can impact the loss of productivity, increase of employment rate, and influence the people's living standards. In conclusion, pandemic COVID-19 has influenced the sector of supply chain in Malaysia. Therefore, every sector needs to focus on the shortage. This can be improve the broken supply chain in Malaysia. Thank you. All right.
Thank you for the previous presenter. And now I am Puvina Shiniravanan, metric number 279666. I will present about conclusion. The COVID-19 outbreak caused major distribution to the global supply chain. Because of nationwide lockdown, manufacturers suffer to hinder or stop the movements of finished goods. Many sectors are affected, such as economic sector, poultry and cattle sector, goat farming, and travel and tourism sector in Malaysia. In this case, COVID-19 outbreak created weakness in several sectors of supply chain operation. Recommendation. The pandemic season not a short-term crisis, but it was a long-term crisis. To manage supply chain during pandemic, need to use holistic approach. To ensure against disruption, companies must boost sufficient flexibility in supply chain operation. Companies also need to consider developing a robust framework which encompasses responsive and strong risk management operations capabilities. Next is digital solution. The digital solution can reduce the impact of COVID-19 in supply chain operation. For example, digital solutions such as improve feasibility, transparency, and upgrade postponement. Next is secure contactless payment and delivery, which retailers can create payment method by remove cash transactions because social distancing become the norm in this pandemic. Companies also need to build crisis team and empower them to make decisions to respond to immediate supply chain challenges in this pandemic, and also need to introduce real-time dynamic routing to increase delivery productivity. That's all from us about Malaysia's supply chain operation during pandemic COVID-19. Thank you to Doctor to give this wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much.